Brazil is a captivating country, but I want to shed some light into the mysteries that is Brazil. Today we seek to answer one important question. Do Brazilians drink coffee? The answer might surprise you. Say do. Coffee is one of the most important products that accounts for 10% of all Brazilian exports. Besides its obvious popularity, this percentage can also be explained by the fact that coffee bushes are greedy plants and are spreading quickly outwards from its origin of Rio de Janeiro. Cafezinho is drunk throughout the day and if offered to you in the business meeting, it is impolite to refuse. Yet there is a growing cultural trend where Brazilians are opting for buying coffee from coffee shops instead of making coffee. Even though choice stands are popular in Brazil, coffee remains the drink of choice and it is possible that coffee made Brazil into poverty country it is today. Put down Red Bull. And enjoy the drink that keeps the whole country going and have a great stay.
Now let's talk about the latest happenings in entertainment. We have famous reporter Ileana Becerra here for the inside scoop of all that's going on.
Hi everyone.
First, Big Brother Brazil 11 is in full swing. Never in 11 seasons has there been much drama in Big Brother Brazil. 5. What do you think will happen, Ileana?
Ultimately, I think Marion gets voted off. Opening parenthesis.
You'll have to stay tuned to see what happens. The series finale is on March 29. What else is all the rage here in Brazil, Ileana?
A new type of music is taking the country by storm, from younger listeners. Acts. Right now during Carnival many of the hottest clubs and live music venues are playing acts. Another new trend that breaks from past convention is film.
Yes, this year, some of the most talked about films of the season are not competing for the Oscar poster or even in Brazilian theaters. What's going on?
Agreed. Social media is allowing low-budget, unconventional movies to gain huge viewings. The film, Parallel Reality, was downloaded over 4,000 times and people say it's one of the best movies to come out of Brazil in years. It's an exciting time in the Brazilian film industry.
Thank you, Ileana, for joining us today. Well, that sums up all the latest in Brazilian entertainment. Back to you. Welcome to the Business Report. I am Nigel Snoot, and with me tonight to look at current Brazilian business is Professor Peter Pedant from the Business School of the University of São Paulo. Professor, in your opinion, what is the current state of business in Brazil and where is it headed?
Brazil is big and it will get bigger going forward. At its present rate of growth, Brazil's economy will exceed that of France this year, the United Kingdom in 2013 and Germany in 2025. By 2050, Brazil will rank as the fourth largest economy in the world behind China, India and the United States.
So right now, what is the biggest thing on Brazil's business horizon?
Nigel, to my mind, nothing compares with the development of deep offshore oil wells in the giant field called Lula. Estimates are that the area contains as much as 6.5 billion barrels of recoverable oil. If accurate, Brazil will rank among the top 5 oil producers in the world. Production is currently only about 100,000 barrels a day, but Petrobras plans to spend $224 billion between now and 2014 to increase output to 2 million barrels a day. I don't think anybody is prepared for the change that oil exploration will bring to the country and its people.
Are there any particular business sectors that currently stand out within the country?
2 come immediately to mind. Packaged food and automobiles. The packaged food market in Brazil in 2010 was valued at $105 billion and ranked 5th in the world in retail value, ahead of France, Italy and the UK. The country's agricultural capacity is enormous. It is able to supply raw materials and ingredients with international quality at affordable prices to a fast-growing food industry. The automobile industry in Brazil is growing rapidly as well. In 2010, vehicle financing made up 25% of all consumer borrowing in Brazil. Brazilian car makers produced a record 3.6 million vehicles last year, a 14% increase over 2009.
With that kind of growth, what kind of problems do you see developing?
The flow of wealth into the country has created a serious risk of inflation. The central bank has tightened lending rules to avoid debt bubbles like the one that the US experienced with housing. The changes have hurt smaller businesses, but the economy remains overheated. Despite calls to slow the flow of money into the economy, Brazil's state-run development bank BNDES lent businesses a record $100.8 billion in 2010. BNDES is currently responsible for between 20 and 25% of all business investments in Brazil.
I'm afraid that is all the time we have, Professor, but thank you for your thoughts on Brazilian business. Good night.
Welcome to Harry King Live on BNN, Brazil News Network. Today's guest is the President of Brazil, Dilma Rousseff. Thank you for talking to us. Let me start by asking you about your fiscal policy. You recently passed a big test in the Congress where the unions and opposition tried to force a big increase in minimum wage. But you only adjusted it by 6.86%. Why the sudden break from the past trend when your economy is booming and private sector workers are getting double-digit pay increases? Don't you run the risk of losing support from the unions which your predecessor President Lula da Silva has worked hard to build?
Harry, let me start by saying, we stuck to the letter of a deal brokered by Lula with the unions in 2006 to raise the minimum wage each year by the sum of the previous year's inflation and GDP growth from the year before that. What the opposition and unions wanted was to bring forward a 13% increase. This formula will likely yield in 2012. But we in Brazil do not believe in spending future income now. Plus, this increase would also impact public sector wages and pensions. For every Brazilian real increase in minimum wage, it costs our government 286 million Brazilian reais per year. Last year we missed target of running a 3% fiscal surplus before debt. Our inflation is at 6%, well above the target of 4.5%. Yet our currency is very strong and unemployment rates are lowest they have ever been.
It does not take much to understand that Brazil have an overheated economy. What do you intend to do about it?
We need to get a grip on government spending. We have already increased our benchmark rate to 11.25% and are implementing stricter rules on bank reserves and consumer credit to help dampen consumer demand. We hope to cut 50 billion, about 2.5% of this year's budget, by cost-cutting, payroll audits and removing pork barrel spending.
The last time Brazil endured a fiscal tightening, after President Lula da Silva took office in 2003, the government resorted to chopping public investment. Will you also go that route? What about your zero-hunger social welfare program Bolsa Familia?
For political reasons, I have already ruled out cuts in social programs. Obviously, I want to get elected president again. In reference to infrastructure spending, it aligns with our objective to sustain economic growth in the long term. With Soccer World Cup in 2014 and the Olympics in 2016, infrastructure cuts do not make sense to us.
Thank you for talking to us, President Dilma.
Thank you, Harry.
Hola. My name is Cristiano Ronaldo, affectionately known as Ofi Enamino. On February 14, at the age of 34, I announced my retirement from the game I have loved my whole life. The last team I played for was Corinthians Football Club from Sao Paulo. Making my retirement especially poignant were the circumstances surrounding it. Corinthians lost in a shocking 2-0 defeat to Colombian club Deportes Tolima in the preliminary round of the Copa Libertadores, a prominent South American football tournament. Corinthian fans were so upset they chanted that I was a shameless fatty. Corinthians, a Sao Paulo football club, is second in the Paulista standings behind Palmeiras. I started my professional football career at the age of 16 coming out of the Brazilian football machine, Cruzeiro. I was immediately signed by PSV Eindhoven, a professional Dutch football club. I played for a number of European teams until 2009 when I returned to Brazil, playing for Corinthians. Perhaps I am best known for holding the record for most goals scored in World Cup competition, 15. What's cool is the 2014 World Cup will be hosted by my homeland. I'm going to Disneyland. Herbeto Colorado, you crazy freaks. Before we send it back to the studio, check out these sick highlights of my top career goals.